welcome to Who Does Rolls Mumbo Jumbo for this mid-November-ish time. There was a bit of background noise because it's early Sunday morning. No one's up, the family are asleep. Someone is driving a tank outside my house the moment I start filming. And still doing that. Fuck off! Anyway, it is an early Sunday morning. Unbelievable. Right. How long does it take you to drive away from the fucking house? It's gone. Hello and welcome to Who Dares Rolls Mumbo Jumbo for November, about mid-November, and here we are in the wonderful Sunday morning. It's a morning. It's not very bright at all. I'm up because I'm an early riser, so I was up and I was like, hey, let's film a video because that's a sensible thing to be doing. So I'm doing that right now. How are you all? I hope you've had a good week or two since I've last caught up with you. We had the video the other day. How exciting. I'm trying to keep these more regular. Not much else to report here from the Who Does Rolls bunker, but I hope you're all fine and dandy and well. The big Christmas day is sort of dragging ever closer, really, isn't it? Isaac is very excited about that, as you would imagine, as he's very small and very excited about these things. Let's have a look at what we've been playing, because I'm just meandering now through rambly. Played. So, a couple of things. So we played Apiary again the other night. Brent brought that along again, the Stemai game, Space Bees! I really enjoyed the first play of that, if you may have picked up from the previous video. So much so, I'm going to come clean and I pre-ordered it because I thought I like what this thing is doing. So we played a second game of it. I didn't do as well as this time. I think I came about third place, but it was very close at the top. Robbie was trailing behind in scores. Again, we mixed it up. We played with different boards. I had a entirely different board, entirely different faction. And I like how they steer what you're doing. I think we did come out of it, and me and Ben agreed, of all the stuff, if there was going to be more added to it, then more of the player mats, which kind of give you some asynchronous powers, would feel nice, because there's only 5 in the game. If there'd been a few more of them, it would have really felt like there was stuff. Having said that, there is 20 of these actual faction tiles, so there's a hell of a lot of variety in there anyway. But this is the board game Twitch, isn't it? Well, you want an expansion? I've just got this new thing. It's lovely. What's the expansion do? The rules are wrong. I've redesigned this from top to bottom in the last 2 weeks since I've been playing it. You've got this all wrong, designer. Anyway. But yeah, it feels, I like it. I think I enjoy it because it has that same sort of sweet spot that, I don't think I only took any photos of this the other week. I'm a fucking idiot. Anyway, I think it's got the sweet spot like Tapestry has for me, where there is random in there. There is a lot of chance. There is a lot of, what is going to happen if I pull at this string? And there's every way you come at it, because of the faction boards and the tiles and everything else. Your game is going to be different because you're going to have to rework your engine to fit that. And there's a lot of variety in there. There is a hell of a lot of variety in that box. I like it. I mean, again, I will go over the points I said last time. It is a worker placement, but you can bump workers all the time, which is nice. And no one ever feels like a spot is stolen. You've always got an option, always. And this, I always like the worker placement, dice placement style of game. I do enjoy these have come out, which is as your dice grows larger when you play it out, you get more actions or more stuff or perk for doing it. So that's kind of the meat and potatoes of what this is doing. It whips along. We played 5-player game again in a bit, second time this time. And to be fair, it whips along a fair array of knots. Now looking at it, I think the jam points of where it could kind of stick, especially those higher player counts, is on the card play. You get these cards that you can, multi-use cards. They essentially could be used either to just bin off at the start or end of your round to get any random or generic resource. They often have a top action, which is a play and it does something. Or they can be planted as part of an action, which means they sit there and they give you an end game scoring multiplier. Last time I played it, I planted a bunch of them and got them that way. This time I kind of thought, I'll pull more cards, because the cards are very powerful. They are swingy, but if you get the right cards with the right setup, you can do really well, and I did on a couple of occasions. They're real power moves. You can only play them at the start or the end of your round. But if you can do actions where you draw them during your round, it gives you something to do with the cards. So my original point was, this is where it's kind of an AP point or a slowdown point, is as you're pulling these cards, obviously there's then that read the card, what am I going to do with it? And there was a couple of times I had cards that allowed me to draft more cards and pass around the table and do other stuff. So that kind of has this kind of kind of domino effect on a turn, and potentially could result in someone sat there for a while doing a lot of stuff while someone else is sat there going, he's doing a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's the play style and that's what you go for. But the caveats to what we said, that isn't a deal breaker for me, and it isn't a problem for me because, you know, it's all part of the fun of the fair. But yeah, just to be aware, there's that little thing going on there. But again, second play, really enjoyed it. I still enjoy what it does. As I've said, it hits that Vita Lacerda feeling type slot, but simpler, more streamlined and less brain burny, but still hitting that sweet spot of that engine generation-y stuff. I really like it. I say it feels like on Mars, but like a slightly gentler version of that. But I really enjoy it. I say I've ordered it, so when it comes I will unbox it and I will show you, and I will look all sorts of excitement. You'll go, oh, look at the bees, and I'll go, yes, isn't it exciting? And you'll go, oh, I suppose I should order that now. And I go, yes, I've been telling you for 2 videos to do that. But we'll do all that later anyway. That's a future mic problem. But yeah, anyway, April, really enjoy it, really like it. I'll be interested to see what the Sunday crowd do with it when they get their teeth into it. So that might be next week. We should have that. And then we are inevitably going to start on the Frosthaven thing again. I've managed to mostly put all the cards back together and do the best I can to resurrect where we were with Frosthaven's campaign after I dropped all the cards on the floor. And we haven't played that for a while now. So we shall dive straight into that soon, before the end of the month, I suspect. So that will mean a lot of Frosthaven talk coming up again. How fortunate for you and how exciting for me. GMing that bastard. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Frosthaven. It's just there's an awful lot of work to enjoying Frosthaven. Other than that, we played Terraform. No, we didn't play Terraform Mars. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Slaughterhouse. Played that again. We played it before. This time the gloves were off. I'm like, I'm going to murderize people. I'm going to. We played, I think, the fourth scenario, which had the survivors running around trying to find pictures or take photographs of stuff. So they had a camera. One person had a camera, and they had to go around and take snaps of certain stuff because to win the game. And I did go full on this time, murderized mode, and I did kill fucking Jamie again, I think won. I did kill Tony, and I did kill Robbie. I got Leatherface on the board. He's monstrous when he's on the board. He's a problem for the survivors. And Jamie still fucking got away with it in one last thing. So I like it. Yes, Robbie went out early game. He had a couple of rounds. He was sat watching. He's fought for being stupid and getting hit on the head with a lump hammer. So that, I think, is the only caveat. If you're not a fan of player elimination, it is in there, and there is nothing for those people to do really other than to laugh at the carnage that's on developing after they've died. I mean, things speed up once players die anyway. It gives the bad player more stuff, more perks when that occurs by bumping off the fear track or something. So it kind of escalates the game forward. But yeah, for 25 quid, and if you're a fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of that style of game, it's a really fucking solid little game. And we played a couple of ones now, scenarios, as I say. Enjoyed that immensely. I want to play it again. Tried a couple of times to bring it to the Friday nights, and we haven't yet played a game of it because April's kind of rolled along, and Ben then wants to do little mini games like Just One or whatever it is, which are fine. Scout's seen regular play, but I would like to see how the Friday crowd do with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that would be quite amusing. Because Bob is massive quarterbacker, so I can see him charging around, causing havoc, shouting at everyone to do stuff, and then they all die. Or I'd just kill Bob just for the joy of it. Anyway, that's for another time. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Slaughterhouse, Funko Games, it's a cracker for £25. Comes highly recommended. April, I've played 2 plays now. I'm kind of recommending that as well because I bought it. And that's that. Let's do some news. Here is the news. News is kind of light on the ground. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle. Well, not kerfuffle at all, really. There was just a discussion point, and I think we'll discuss it here. If you've not watched it, there was a video put out by Pam Walls. She's a game designer, and I can't think of what she's designed. She did some stuff for Hasbro. They have a flash up here. It's terrible for me. Anyway, she put out a video which is 6 truths of the board game industry, Now, most of this video, to be fair, was focused more at a designer and the publisher relationship and how all that works. And there was some interesting things. I think anyone who is designing a game or thinks they could design a game, and hey, I've been muddling around the edges of that for some time myself, though nothing committed fully to anything, is, I think with anything, is there's that thought of like, oh, this is the wonderful time, I will design this thing and I will go out and it will make me my millions and I shall be most happy. And this is a little bit of a reality drop on what really that's like, and how many games it might take you and how likely it is for you to get that thing. And all that was an interesting perspective on that. And, you know, some of us maybe under no illusions of how the industry works, but it was interesting to see someone, insider, kind of giving some truth bombs regarding some of that. And, you know, nothing bad, no dirty laundry was aired. It was just like, this is reality of the situation. You know, your game might not get published, or if it does, it may not sell millions. One good point she did make was the success of your game relies heavily on the marketing around it. And I think that's interesting how we are, because board game marketing, to a point, you don't feel it's that pervasive. It's not mainstream. But if you then look at the influencers, us types, well, I barely class myself as an influencer, really. A bad influencer. But yeah, that buzz, that word of mouth is definitely a factor into it. But the thought of is, can they engineer? I mean, we get the FOMO, we get the buff off of a convention and all that. So yeah, it's hard to think of how that works, but engineering hit game, I get it. Word of mouth still seems a big thing though. One big thing she did touch on, which kind of is more relevant to what we're talking about, us people, is the culture of extreme consumerism and FOMO, basically, within the board game industry. And she went specifically into the hall photos, and we've still seen them. Look what I bought! I bought Essen. Well, I was at Essen. Aha! Now, I mean, I've posted a couple of these in my previous life, as they say. Mostly was coming back from conventions if I'd got some review copies and stuff like that. But I mean, even at the greatest, they were still non-comparable to some of the absolutely ridiculous pool photos I've seen. I get it. Some people are driven. I mean, the hobby, I've touched on this before. We've said about the joy of the hobby, and I think the joy of board game set for me is you get a game, I've got my game, whoa, there it is, here's my game, cool, a new game. So instantly there's the excitement of, I've got a new game, I'm going to be able to play this with my friends, what joyful, and it'd be fun to see how they ooh. So it's a box of possibilities. And then secondary to that, to me personally, is, you know, the adventure and experience of opening up that for the first time, exploring its innards, sticking around in there, sticking your fingers in and just seeing all the bits and pieces and getting the sights and sounds and that kind of Christmas morning feel of discovering the contents of that box. No, we're not all like that, but for me, that initial getting stuff out and seeing, ooh, what's all this do? And then getting the rules out and kind of getting the feel for it and starting to kind of get an idea, and that exploration, that first tender sort of lovers embrace, that early sort of the honeymoon period of you kind of getting to know your new game. All of that is, I think, something very much specific to the board game hobby. You buy a video game, it's different. You get your video game, you get it home. I mean, I remember back in the days of old 80s, you know, you'd get your video game and there was more in those boxes. They used to load it with other stuff. You used to have fucking great instruction manuals in there. And none of that exists anymore now. You buy a game and it just shows you how to play it when you put it on. So it's a different thing. So these are very much a tactile touch. It's all endorphin rushes and kind of hitting your sweet spot and kind of buzz. It's a wonderful hobby and a terrible hobby as well if you're that type of person that is driven by the buzz endorphins of a new thing and the journey you go on. It's not just I have a new thing. It's I have a new thing I'm going to explore. That's for me. So that's perspective into me, how I work. So yeah, I get what she's saying, and it is. But you see these massive haul photos, and I now especially look at these and go, when are you ever going to play all that? Is often my first question. And second to that, you think, I do sometimes sit and worry. I go, can you afford that? I mean, a trip to Essen, I'm not going to be doing anytime soon. It's expensive, just getting to there and accommodation. Then lots of games. If you're going to be buying games, our hobby is not the cheapest. I mean, there is you know, there's more expensive hobbies certainly, but for something where you're consuming lots of stuff, it isn't a cheap hobby, and it's very easily you can run afoul of, you know, blowing lots of cash on this if you want to. So yeah, whole photos for me. I understand it. I'm if you want to do it, then fine. Don't, you know? I mean, I'm sat here at the moment, and my only annoyance of any of these videos of this stuff is here I am with a wall of fucking look at my stuff behind me, and I only really do it because I have no other space in here. It is the fucking sad. Oh, here we go again. If I could I could put curtains up, but I mean. It's not, it's just the thing, isn't it? It's just the thing. I did do it for a while against a green screen. I might do that again, but hey, you know what? This is the nature of the beast. So yeah, there is a lot of dick swinging in the hobby. But yeah, haul photos, I get it, and the FOMO is certainly real. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. I mean, here I am. I'm here going, this is amazing, £25. You need to buy it. And you know, there's people out there who will go, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He says it's fantastic. I need to buy that too. So we're guilty. I am guilty of this. I do try and direct my excitement to stuff that I am excited about, and I'm not trying to make you buy anything. I promise, I'm really not. I mean, I'm not. You know, this I got nothing from Funko. I bought this myself, and I enjoyed it, and I bought it because I like this. Here I am waving this fucking game going. Hey, Funko, you might the check, please. But you know, I did that off my own money, my own thing, because I wanted the look of it, and then I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed what it is, and I'm sharing with you. So there's all this. We get into the whole. We're not even going to get into that. Anyway, so yeah, it's a video. You know, I've had a chat. There you go. It's definitely a conversation starter. Especially the whole. Where are you down on the whole photos, FOMO, and massive thing? Well, it's a tricky area. You start collecting these things, and it's easy to fall down that rabbit hole. We've all been there. But there you go. I've witted on, maybe made some relevant points, or just made myself look an arse. One or the other, I guess. What else? Well, look, I've got the heater on, and it's really fucking warm now. So I'm going to go and turn that off, and then once I've done that, we're going to look at Imperial Miners for Portal Games. I'm just going to kind of run through basically how that works. Here we go. This was sent to me by Portal Games. I haven't paid for this. Technically, you could call it paid promotion, I suppose. I'm just going to talk you through the game. I saw it at the UK Games Expo. I really enjoyed that demo I had of it. I liked what it was doing. So we're going to have a look at this after I turn the heating off, or I'm going to sweat my ass off, and that won't be fun for anyone. Yes, here we are, Imperial Miners. So I got a demo of this. I played a demo of this at the UK Games Expo this year. Ignacy was there. He had a very good demo version of this. It was almost probably finished quality of this Imperial Miners, another game in the Imperial Settlers, and I do enjoy the Imperial Settlers series of games. I like the artwork and the design of it. I like the little things going on. It is Settlers for me is a great game. Probably the problem is playing more than two, it becomes massively kind of goes on, outstays its welcome a bit, but it is an enjoyable game. Empires of the North was a simplified version of that. I've played it a few times. It's not quite sticked as well as Imperial Settlers did. Or there's 51st State, which is kind of like a Settlers 2.0, which is a little bit better at the higher player counts, but more take-thatty in some ways. Anyway, all of that is irrelevant. We're going to look at Imperial Miners. So Imperial Miners, what is Imperial Miners? It's an engine builder, basically. At its core, it is you building an engine, and it's represented by you mining. So what do we get in the box? Let's go for that first. So we've got the Imperial Miners rulebook, which is relatively straightforward. It's only 8 pages of here, and to be fair, most of the rules and how it works are contained on that one page. That's how simple it is. You know, Portal, hats off to Portal. Their rulebooks have got significantly better than they used to be, and it all seems to do the job very well in there. We get some player boards, enough for 5 players. They are multi-sided, but I'm pretty certain they're the same. And in fact, the art's the same on there. So, anyway, we've got 2-sided of those for each of the different things you can play, and they are all the same abilities at the top. That will go at the top of your board, and you'll be building your mine down from the base of that. Also included is these 3 technology boards, something like that. These are double-sided and they're different on either side. And you might get a counter there, and you can raise up this track to be able to do lots of cool shit during the game. Aside from that, we get lots of cards of these, which is going to be 4 different sets of these, plus a random events deck. And you've got tier 1 mines, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, so on, and they all obviously have different stuff going on them. I'll come back to them in a second. Then we get lots of little minecarts. Shit, the minecarts. Here they are, minecarts, which are kind of cool, but you have to put these stickers on all of them, so be aware of that. I sat and watched some telly while I was doing that the other night. Lots of gems, all different colours, but basically they all at the same point value. Some wooden counters for tracking on the tech board, and a load of cardboard counters. That's kind of what's in there. So engine builder, as I said, basic idea of it is you've got these different tiers of these cards, and on them will be something like this. Now these are cheaper. Tier 1s you don't actually have to pay for, but there'll be a value up here of what they do. There's factions they are linked to. There is an ability that's triggered when you first build it. And then how this works is essentially, if you see on there, there's little minecarts to the tops and bottoms of these. And I might have to change the video around how to do this, but yeah, these can lock onto here, so that would attach like that to make a set. And every set of the minecarts that are connected are worth a point as well at the end of the game. Don't have to connect them together specifically, but a full set gets you a minecart a point. And you can pop the minecarts I showed down on here as well. But essentially you're building these, and they will come down in a tier. So tier 1s are across the top. This is a tier 1, but it would be a 2 and a 3 and a 4. 4 cards can only be got by doing it on the things here. They're mainly end game scores. Once you put a tile down, it will go down, and then it will trigger itself, and then it will trigger any tile connected directly above it, or each one tile, so you can get 2 connected, but it will go, you'll pick which one it triggers all the way up until it reaches the player board and triggers on that. And that's pretty much how the game works. Some cards have different abilities that relate to the factions. They maybe, if you've got this faction, this do this. Some of them are collecting stuff, and other ones will allow you to spend the stuff you're collecting to get points. That's pretty much how it's working, really. It's quite quick. And you're basically there. Your turn is you will pick a card out of your hand of cards you've got. And there's a draft variant for once you know what you're doing. Pick a card, play it down. Something happens. Next person, rinse, repeat. And as you dig down, you can go across or down. As you go down, you have this ripple effect as you activate stuff, which I really enjoyed when I played it. And what I really enjoyed as well was it was fast. Now, I haven't played this yet since it's come, but we'll definitely get a game of this in later on, I would have thought. But yeah, it's real quick. Bang, down, tile, off you go and do that. And you get this little buzz of engine generation, which I enjoy. So yeah, I mean, essentially you all kind of just sat doing your own thing. A bit like Last of Us. I want to say it was Last of Us, the monkey game. Similar to that, it's a bit like you are set there, put a card down, generate them. I don't remember there being a whole lot of, if any, interaction between players at the table when you're playing stuff. And I don't think you are, and you're all doing this at the same time. So yeah, you know, if you're not a fan of that, then maybe that might not have much mileage. I will see when I get a game of it in how that goes. It's worth relevant to be aware of. But yeah, I really enjoyed the play of it. I had it's reasonably priced, I believe this was. It's fairly low RRP on this. Components are all pretty solid, as you've seen. Artwork's really nice. I love, you know, as with all the Settlers games, they've got lots of characters and little details on the cards. There's a fair bit of variety in that box. I'm sure we're going to see some more. But yeah, I'll get a play in, and then I'll come back and I'll give you an actual warts and all opinion on how all that went. But yeah, so far so good. Like what it looks like, don't I? That's that for that. Other than that, I've been basically watching a couple of movies. I watched The Invitation the other night, which is on Shudder. I've got a Shudder subscription for the month because there's a few things on there I quite like the look of. But yeah, The Invitation, which is kind of cool. It's only a recent movie, only done, I want to say, last year. There is a guy and his partner. They get invited to his ex's party she's having. There's history between them. They lost a child earlier, so they're both kind of carrying their own sort of traumas from that. And essentially, it's one of these kind of awkward movies where you sat there of like a social setting, and then kind of uncomfortable things happening, and how our main character I think it's David Stevens, I think it is, reacts to it. He's obviously in a fragile state anyway, what's going on. And you've got these lots of these little microaggression-y type stuff going on, or weirdities at this party, and he's reacting in some ways to it that it's weird, and his reactions are unsettling people. And you're kind of on this push-pull of the whole way through the movie to a certain point where you're going, is he insane? And this is just a normal gathering, or is he right? Is something else going on here? So it's good. I'm not going to spoil any more of that. It does roll out to a way, which is satisfying mostly. It's got a good cast on there. I say enjoy it. There's a couple of good. Say John Carroll Lynch turns up, which he's brilliant in most stuff. He's in. You'll know him when you see him. Big lad. He was in Zodiac. And in Fargo, he played Marge's husband in Fargo. He turns up time, a good character actor. And a few other faces you may well recognise as well. But yeah, not bad. Quite an interesting in that watch, and get a little bit uncomfortable going, oh God, social norms and graces and all that. But yeah, it delivers on a satisfying thing if you're a fan of that sort of stuff. Recommend it. Give it a look. I'm not going to say any more. Just go in with what I've told you and go and enjoy that. And then I watched Venom the other day. Not that Venom. This is Venom from 1980s. I think it also may have been called something else at one point. It may have been called... I keep thinking it is. I remember seeing this as a kid in the 80s on TV. It's essentially... What a wonderful idea. It was originally going to be a Tobe Hooper movie, but then he filmed for a little while and had a disruption on the set because the movie stars Oliver Reed, good old Ollie, love a bit of Oliver Reed, Klaus Kinski, fuck me, those two in one movie together. Suzanne George is in there. We've also got Nicole Williamson, I think it is, who's also a renowned pain in the arse when it comes to being an actor at the time. He's now sadly passed. There's Merlin in Excalibur, if you remember him. And Sterling Hayden, who also, by all counts, could be an absolute arsehole on set. You've got all of those people in this movie, which makes it worth watching just for that cast alone. And the offset drama apparently was horrific. And there is a comedy. I picked up a Blue Underground Blu-ray of it, which are region free. And it's got a director's commentary, which I will listen to. I've not told you what it's about if you don't know. Anyway, this movie, Venom, is about, it's many things, but it's essentially a small boy gets himself a snake, should be a harmless snake, but in actual fact, it's a black mamba, which is not a good idea. At the same time this is happening, there is a half-assed kidnapping plot takes place with Ollie Reed and Klaus Kinski involved in this, and Susan George. At the same time, the black mamba gets loose in the house, and it turns into a hostage situation. In the house with a fucking killer snake loose. And I remember as a teen or kid watching this, and especially the attacks by the snake being quite and people dying in fairly horrific ways when that happens. So I have a soft spot for it of that, and that kind of, I like British horror of this period. It's something about it. It's got like a very Britishness to it, which kind of some ways makes it more horrific. I don't know, it's something about it. I think of movies like The Omen, this, the Medusa Touch, if you've never seen that, which is Richard Burton on top form. Those sort of, that area of horror, British horror, the Underground movie as well, which is Raw Meat. That they've got a certain very aesthetic British horror feel to it, and I kind of enjoy that about my movies. Subsequently, in League of Gentlemen and Inside Number 9 have kind of definitely evoked a lot of that as they've done stuff well worth a watch. But yeah, Venom. I mean, it's not a great movie, but the concept alone is fantastic, and it deviates about midway through from this one thing to like a police procedural hostage situation. And it's a quirky little movie. It's got Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski in it. I mean, what more do you fucking want of those two lunatics loose? By all counts, Ollie was a fucking pain in the arse of the set, winding Kinski up. So it's no wonder that Tobe Hooper just turned up, snorted along the coat and went, fuck this, I'm off. Though I would have liked to have seen Tobe Hooper's take on it. It's directed by, instead, I think it's Piers Haggard, who directed Blood and Satan's Claw, if you know that one. That's probably a more kind of a big name thing. But very British horror, that sort of feel. I like it. I dig that stuff. If you've never seen Venom, that might be for you. If you're a fan of snake attack, hostage negotiation movies with Oliver Reed and Klaus Kinski, then that might well tick a box for you. If not, hey, you know, horses for courses. So there you go. That is a video for this week, or whenever this video comes out when I edit it. But then there probably will be some editing. Who knows? Have a great week. It lets me know there's anything exciting going on I should know about. By all means, write and share and subscribe and all that. You know, if you have hot ball gaming news, then this is the place. Let me know. I will report back on Imperial Miners once we get a game of that. I suspect by the next video I will have apiary, so I will do unboxing and a rather shiny, take some photos of that, and then you can go, oh god, we pack it in. And then I would imagine we'd delve deeply into the cup of Frosthaven, which would be nice, wouldn't it? So there you go. Thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely week. Look after yourselves. Clearly play board games. And I will see you soon. Ta-ta.